Hello everyone, this is Andre, and this is the legendary episode number 20 of the Localization Podcast. Just like last episode, I will only have one article for this episode, and also as I was just going through the articles that are shortlisted for this week, I kind of felt like I'm not sure if this whole experience is bringing me that much joy, and I really think that I would rather be interviewing people and having some conversations, because this is nice that I basically go through everything that's been posted on social media, and by that I mean Twitter and LinkedIn mainly. I have kind of overview of what everybody in the industry is posting, because I do actually look at all the posts that have the localization hashtag, and that kind of gives me this perspective, and I feel like I'm on top of what's happening. I don't know if the whole format is for me and it's sustainable for me to do it in the future, but I did say this many times that it is my goal to turn this into more of a Q&A format. So I think that this might be actually the last episode that I do on my own, and so instead of doing this every week, maybe just to keep the consistency and to keep the rhythm, I think I should just focus my time on finding the guests and inviting them to the podcast, because I don't think that my idea and the way I want to structure the podcast with guests is bad, and I think it will be something unique. So I think I should rather focus on that instead of just doing my solo speaking practice. But I think that has helped me a little bit. Anyway, so today's article, and let's just get right into it because I don't want to delay the intro too much. This one will be about Airbnb China, and if you also do a similar thing that I do, that is that you look at what's happening on social media for localization, then actually I've seen quite a lot of posts last week and maybe even the week before, because everybody was praising Airbnb, because now I think they doubled the number of languages that Airbnb is available in. But I will not be talking about that. I found this article and it's from MSN, yes, Microsoft News. I think that's what it means. Microsoft News.com, and it's about Airbnb China. And I think this is it's not an interview, but it's some thoughts or quotes from the president of Airbnb China. And he said that localization is key if they want to be successful in the country. So in this article, which was posted 4 days ago, and today, FYI, is Saturday, November 23, and I'm recording at 12:52 p.m. So, back to the article. Airbnb President Tao Peng explains how Airbnb is making subtle changes to its platform to make it work in China. Airbnb has hired 500 staff in Beijing to build a customized version of the platform, which includes a different front page and the ability to pay with WeChat Pay and Alipay. The travel giant has also changed its name to Abiyang in China. So, 3 key things to how they're localizing and adapting the whole Airbnb for the Chinese market. Home sharing platform Airbnb needs to localize its platform if it's going to be successful in China. according to Tao Peng, president of Airbnb China. The San Francisco headquartered tech firm, which is set to IPO next year, has built a customized app in China and rebranded itself to Abiyang as part of an effort to appeal to more Chinese consumers. Eastern culture is very different from Western culture, Peng said Tuesday at CNBC's East Tech West conference in the Nansha district of Guangzhou, China. We devote a lot of resources to localize, he said, adding that Airbnb has more than doubled its headcount in Beijing to 500 staff during 2019. In order to convince China's 1.4 billion people to use its platform, Airbnb is trying to ensure that Airbnb China is built by Chinese engineers for Chinese people, Peng said. The exec admitted that Airbnb initially had lots of issues with its front page in China because Chinese people interact with the internet differently to those in the West. To get around the issues, Airbnb customized its front page in China. When you open it, it is different to the US, Peng said, adding that people tend to use promotions and search in order to find accommodation. So I was actually curious to how they changed it. So just to give you kind of like a audio representation of what the changes are. So right now I'm looking at Airbnb Canada, and it shows like one big background image on the front page on the top, and there's the search form on the top left where you can select where you go when you check in, when you want to check out, and how many guests you have. But when I go, and actually also FYI, the background image is kind of like, it looks like a very special house or small house that's built like on top of some tower. It's like a wooden tower. I thought it was like for hunters, but it actually looks like it's like a accommodation, and it looks like it's like surrounded by woods. So it's just the property. It's like a very unique one. Now when I go to Airbnb China, so of course everything is in Chinese, but the search bar to search for your vacation has a different format. So while the Canadian one is basically the only form that you see on the homepage on the top, and FYI, I'm of course looking at this on the desktop. The Chinese one has carousel, so that's the one. How to describe this? So that's the one that kind of like goes through different images that are like a background at the top of your website, and all of these images contain, I suppose, Chinese people. So that's first kind of like a way to localize things. And then the search, which is what they mentioned, that how they search for things in China. The search here kind of like reminds me of when you search for flights on Skyscanner or on kiwi.com. So the form is pretty much just one line. It's very horizontal, while on the Canadian one, and I assume also on the US one, you have this like a box, like a square format with many different things. And if we're talking about like the website and the design, I think it's called top of the fold or something like that. So it's like the first thing that you see before you like start scrolling down. So what is like really like the priority thing on the website? So on Canadian one, and as I was explaining, it's really just the search box, the search form, and that big image of that unique house, which I assume it's in Oregon. But the Chinese one, the search bar and the hero image only covers like half of my screen, And then on the bottom half, I can already see like some of the listings. So yeah, the structure is a little bit different. So that's about the homepage. Okay, let's go back to the article. While people in the West tend to make online payments with credit cards, people in China use digital platforms like Alibaba's Alipay and Tencent's WeChat. Airbnb, which has 7 million properties globally on its platform, work with Alibaba and Tencent to ensure Chinese customers could use these payment platforms to make their bookings. Peng also explained the logic behind the new Abiyang name in China. It is hard to pronounce, but I think it captures the meaning, he said. It means love and welcome each other. I think we chose the name because it makes you feel excited and passionate. It feels very natural. Ming Fung, a managing director for travel commerce platform Travelport, said on the same panel at the East Tech West conference, the way Asia uses technology can be very different. The reliance on mobile is very different from a Western country. So coming to China, you really have to appreciate that and understand how you can localize and utilize those things. And that's the end of the article. I thought I had a little bit more for this article. Yeah, so when I was thinking about this, I was thinking because like in China, most of the popular internet services like search or shopping, they have like their own versions, and they typically block the their services that are popular in the rest of the world, like Google, for example, or YouTube. So I was wondering, since Airbnb is kind of like setting up their own version in China, so I was wondering like if China doesn't already have any alternatives to Airbnb. And of course they do, and I found two that I want to briefly mention. I think the biggest one, it's called Tujia, so that's spelled TUJIA.com, and the second one that I found is called Xiaozhu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, so that's XIAOZHU.com. And so when I look at Tujia.com, the search is almost the same as on the Chinese version of Airbnb, and it looks very, very similar. And from what I read when I was looking for these alternatives, so these two sites are only available in Chinese, so they're completely focused on the Chinese customers. And from what I found, although the article was like pretty old, was that Tujia has like 5 times more listings in China than Airbnb. But of course, if you are a foreign tourist in planning to go to China, you probably won't use Tujia or the Xiaozhu because, well, they're not available in English, so you would still probably have to rely on Google Translate, which is the paradox that Google Translate would help you get accommodation in China using a Chinese site. But yep. I feel a little bit embarrassed, but I don't know. Let's give it a try, because I'm just looking at the time that I spent recording, and it's really just 14 minutes. So this will be the very shortest episode of the Localization Podcast. I even feel that maybe I won't even promote it. Like, why? So I'll just probably post it, and I'll do the final edits. And also, by the way, this one I won't be even uploading to YouTube, because recently when I was looking at like the videos and the analytics, all the recordings from the Localization Podcast, they have like very low amount of views, and they have also very low engagement. So maybe when I start doing the interviews, maybe I'll reintroduce them, but we'll see. So that's going to be it for this episode number 20 of the Localization Podcast. If you got to this point, thank you for listening, and stay tuned. I don't know when I'll drop episode number 21. And as I said, and I think I need to stick to it, I have to just find a guest to make this more of a conversational podcast. And I think it will give you a lot more entertainment, especially like once I start feeling a little bit more relaxed, because it's difficult for me to make jokes when I'm just talking to myself. So again, thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for episode number 21. Bye.